Psalm 131, the Song of Ascents. O Lord, my heart is not lifted up. My eyes are not raised too high. I do not occupy myself with things too great and too marvelous for me. Peter Scazzaro, in his book, Emotionally Healthy Spirituality, tells us this. Sabbath, when lived, is our means as the people of God to bear witness to the way we understand life, its rhythms, its gifts, its meaning, and its ultimate purpose in God. Observing the Sabbath, we affirm, God is the center and source of our lives. He is the beginning, the middle, and the end of our existence. We trust God to provide and care for us.
All right, welcome back to The Pilgrim's Way. It's good to be here with you guys. This week we're going to be discussing rest and busyness, just kind of asking the question, how can we slow down? We're approaching summer, and this is where, I mean, at least for me, summer starts to get really, really busy, and there's all kinds of activities going on, all kinds of stuff happening, and we still want to make sure that we're making an intentional effort to slow down, to rest, to make sure we're not so busy that we neglect what's really important, the things that matter the most. So Phil, I'm going to just kick it over to you to kind of get us going on this. What are some, well, first of all, let's talk about the general inclination to be busy all the time. Why is that? Why do we feel the need to constantly be doing something?
Because we want to prop up the false idea that we are great. Or we want to make ourselves feel great because we are insecure. And so we're trying to prove something to ourselves, or we're trying to prove something to other people, or we're trying to garner approval from people. I think that lies behind a lot of it. I think some of it is an unwillingness, or a fear of being left behind, a fear of being outside the group of what everybody else is doing, even though we know it's killing us, even though we don't want to do it. The fear of not being a part of the group is greater than our desire to have rest, and so we keep going. I think that's some of it. I think that we, at another level, there's a lack of confidence in God to take care of us. There's a lack of confidence that God is enough to satisfy my heart, and so I've got to continually occupy myself and entertain myself. There's a dreadful fear of boredom. Mm-hmm. We do not want to be bored, and I think that is in part attributed to our constant scrolling. We can't just sit and think. We can't just sit and wait. We have to be doing something. The phone has to come out. We have to play a game. We have to scroll through social media. We have to look at our news feeds. We have to be productive. We have to, and even as like reading a book, I used to always say, and I still do say, try to have a book with you wherever you go so you don't waste a moment. But there's something wrong with that. Like, it's not a waste of a moment to just sit and be with God. It's not a waste of a moment to be aware of what's going on around you and to be able to engage in a conversation with someone that happens to be sitting in the same waiting room that you're in. And I think we have continually increasing our busyness and isolating ourselves. It's creating a lot of the problems that we're experiencing. So those are the things that come to my mind. What do you think, Doug?
Yeah, I was thinking one of the reasons I wanted to highlight Psalm 131 is there's this idea of like there's a proper amount of work to be done. And it is good and godly and just to God honoring to do that work. The two extremes are, on the one side, we become lazy. And so we put off, and there is a constant tension of putting off. And so we're kind of on a locomotive of pushing things back to where we never actually do the work that is good. The other side is the workaholic. And they're also on a locomotion of constantly having to achieve and earn and earn. And so both of these are trains that you desperately want to get off of. and you can't because you're stuck in one of these things. And so the psalmist is saying, I don't lift my eyes up too high. I don't think about things that are too marvelous for me. It is, I am properly situated. I have structured my life in such a way that God is, as Kazero says, the beginning, the middle, and the end, the source of all that I have. And I can trust him to care for me. And so a lot of this, of the busyness, is because we have not structured our lives well. And I think those are, you're pointing to kind of the spiritual solutions. Like, what is it about my soul that constantly has to be stimulated? Why can I not do some of the Sabbath things? The Sabbath things are wonderful, and they're simple, and they are deeply spiritual. We see really kind of 4 things that kind of take place. We stop, we rest, we delight, and we contemplate. And I think that contemplation is perhaps the thing that we are losing in the 21st century. Certainly stop and rest are kind of, symptoms. Like we don't stop, we don't rest, but perhaps being alone with our own thoughts and thinking deeply about the goodness of God, or thinking deeply about his word, scares us or bores us. And so maybe I think there's certainly is a spiritual component to why we're busy.
I agree.
Yeah, it was. We're working through the 12 Ways Your Phone is Changing You with my Sunday school class.
It's a great book.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that he hits on is we're one of the reasons why we're so addicted to our phones is because we don't want to think about things beyond, like we have a hard. We are resistant towards thinking about eternity because that involves self-evaluation. It involves us asking questions to ourselves, like really confronting sin in our own life. And if we can avoid contemplating, then we can avoid that. And I wonder if that's what part of it is, the need to always be doing something. Because once you sit still, then you have to start thinking. You have to start processing. You have to start thinking about the things you did, you said, the conversations you had. And that's where your sin becomes prominent.
Yeah. I think something you said too about you contrasted laziness and workaholism. I think workaholism is another form of laziness, because by staying busy with things that are of less importance, you neglect the things that are of most importance, but are harder to do. Right. And so you can procrastinate and put off what is most important, what's necessary, because your time is just swallowed up by the urgent, constant, hamster wheel of life. And I think that's where we as parents have to protect our kids as well, because the school and the coaches and the teachers and all of the extracurricular activities, they want the kids to do this, and they want the kids to do this, and they want the kids to do this, and if you're not careful, especially if you have more than one kid, you're going in 100 different directions as a family, and your family unit is fractured because of that. And so you have to maintain you have to pull back from that and refuse. And I think we as a church have to be careful that we don't do that to families as well.
Yeah.
And I think we are doing a pretty good job of pulling back on that. But I want us to cultivate, not just personally, but as a church family, rhythms of life. That there are seasons to work really hard, and there are seasons to rest and enjoy the presence of God and the presence of one another. I think the ancient world, when the sun went down, it was time to go to bed. Or it was time when you couldn't harvest anymore, you went in by the fire and you sat and you talked, you ate, and then you went to. There was a natural rhythm to life that our artificial lights and technology and phones and means of self-entertainment are robbing us of. Now, it doesn't mean those things are intrinsically bad or evil, but we have to be cognizant of how technology changes life. And if it's changing it in a bad way, then what do we need to do to address it so that we can reclaim that which is good?
Yeah. So let's think. So that's kind of the issue. Let's think a little bit practically. Like, how do we start? If we're not resting, how do we start resting? And I want to think about this in 3 different categories. The individual, like how do we prioritize rest, prioritize slowing down and spending time with God? How do we do this with our family? Secondly, and then we can get into some of the things that we're thinking about as a church about the seasonal aspect of life? How do we make sure we're doing that as a church family? So as far as the individual goes, what are some things that you guys have found helpful when it comes to rest and slowing down your schedule?
I remember my younger years, even like as a student and in college and seminary, I had a reverse understanding of Sabbath. Sabbath was when I get to the end of all the things I need to do, then I will be able to rest. And so it created a false Sabbath, because if anything happened or anything didn't get done, it was like, well, Sabbath was a day that it was kind of optional, and so if need be, this is my emergency day. Versus my understanding now is that it's, rather than it being the last day, it's the first day that then properly organizes the others. So if there is time to stop, to rest, to delight in God, to contemplate His goodness and contemplate the relationships that He's given me, then it's going to order the other six in ways that I hadn't anticipated. So it's going to say, if I make that my first priority is Sabbath, then I'm going to say no to a lot more. And you're going to find that as you grow in how you are able to observe and slow your life down, you're saying no to a lot more, because there's so many wonderful things that are out there. There's so many things that are offered to you. There's so many opportunities, good opportunities for ministry. But you're going to find that a proper Sabbath understanding is going to help you to say no. And it's going to help you to lead your kids to say no to things. It's going to help you and as a family to protect things together. You're going to have new traditions. They're just going to be like, hey, we don't ever do anything Sunday night, because we get together at Grandpa's house and we always watch football and we hang out as a family. And you're welcome to come to that, because it is inclusive. We want people to come in, but it's like of utmost importance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the ways that we stop and we rest and we relax.
I think you have to be intentional and choose the rest. And I think at first it's going to be hard if you've not done something like that. And I think there's also that there's going to be things that come up, especially initially when you first start, that push against it, and and you're going to fail. And then you're going to be like, there's no point of even trying, and you just give up. I don't think that's the solution either. I think like anything else, it's hard to learn a new discipline of life, and you're going to have a lot of stop and starts and fails and things like that nature. And your family, every family is going to be unique in a sense, and so how you practice Sabbath is going to be a little bit different. I don't think there's a one size fits all. I think the important thing is stop and rest and provide space and buffer in your life individually and as a family to breathe, to escape the grind of everyday life and vacation together at home. You know, I mean, that's really what it is. It's a holiday, a holy day, every week to just relax, laugh, be together. And you need to do things that help you relax. You know, like for me yesterday, it was a Sunday afternoon. I ended up mowing my yard because I enjoy mowing my yard. And it's because that's not work for me. Like what I do as work all day long is reading and writing and thinking and talking and counseling and those kinds of things. And for me, I need to do something at like mowing the yard or painting a wall and listening to a book is extremely relaxing for me. Now, is it work? Well, I mean, it's work at some level, and for someone who professionally mows yards or who professionally paints, that's not going to be Sabbath for them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there has to be a little bit of give and take there. You need to do what helps you relax and what helps you just enjoy God. And for me, listening to music about Christ as I'm mowing the yard is really relaxing for me, you know. And so I think you have to figure that out for yourself, and don't lock yourself into a box that we have to do it just like this, because then if it's not fun and relaxing, you're not, especially for your kids, you're not creating an atmosphere in which they look forward to Sabbath. I think the Sabbath needs to be something that the family looks forward to, and as they grow in it, they refuse to bring other things into it because they love it so much. They want it, and thus they refuse to go do this or that on the Sabbath because that's a priority to them.
Yeah. You mentioned like it's like a vacation once a week.
Yeah.
With your family at your house, or whatever it is. It was a couple of weekends ago. Lexi and I went over to her parents' house, and they've got a nice land pond and trails in the back that we can ride on. And it just like clicked for both of us kind of at the same time. It was like, it's just like a random Friday. It's like 10:30 in the morning, and we're just going to go hang out and fish like with my son. It was like, this is really neat. Like we don't have an agenda. We just decided to do this morning, and it was a really enjoyable day. Like we weren't just sitting around and doing nothing. We were outside enjoying creation, spending time with one another. Getting a little bit frustrated at my son and his fishing abilities, but
he's 2.
I know. But no patience. Anyway, but it was just enjoyable. It was really fun, and it was restful for us to kind of, Lexi spends all of her time in the home, making sure getting things done at the house, and stepping away from the house for her was restful for her, like because that's her workspace, and so we left that space and we went and hung out somewhere else, and so yeah, finding things like that you can go and do, or just spending time with family, I think is so like that's the second thing, like how do you get your family to buy into this kind of schedule? Like how do you get everyone on board, especially if you haven't been doing this for several years and you have kids that are going all over the place, and all of a sudden you're like, well, I want to do a Sabbath with the family. How do you get your grown kids to buy into that?
I think you have to a little bit of explaining as to why this is important. I think also using Sunday as your Sabbath for most people is probably a wise thing, because and theologically, I think Sunday is the most sense for Sabbath as well, because it's the day of the resurrection. It's the holy day in that regard. It's the day of the new creation's inauguration. There's a whole lot of Jesus is the fulfillment of the Sabbath. He is our rest, and so it makes sense for Sunday. But Sunday is still somewhat recognized as a holy day, a day where people go and worship the Lord. But here, like at Make It FBC, we have worship in the morning, but then you have the rest of the afternoon and evening to do whatever, to have a campfire, or to go fishing, or to go swimming, or to go read a book at the lake, or whatever you want to do, go hiking. And I think there's a good rhythm in that, is that this is a day that we give to the Lord, and we honor the Lord by worshiping Him, and we honor the Lord by stopping. We don't go to practice. We don't go to work. We don't do the normal grind thing. We don't do homework on Sunday. You do homework before Sunday gets here, so that you're not doing homework Sunday night, getting ready for Monday morning. Those little things, and again, being gracious with your family, because you're going to mess up and things are going to happen, and being gracious and learning and letting it kind of develop. And I think being the enthusiastic, being the cheerleader, like this is awesome, and making it special, doing things that make it unique. Maybe that's the day that you have dessert. Maybe you don't have desserts throughout the week, but that day you have dessert.
They would have a feast day in the Old Testament to signify this.
So having little things that really make that day stand out from the other days, I think is the way you do that. And it just takes some time. Be patient. Pray for God to change your hearts as well.
I think that's good. I think I would similarly, I would say, maybe we're going to start with a dinner, or we're going to start with like after dinner. Maybe we're just going to get together for dessert.
Yeah.
We're going to try to build this up, because I think it's okay for dads and moms to say, hey, I haven't been modeling this, but the Lord has convicted me of this.
That's right.
And I would like to lead you all in this. Now, you all may have things that are going to come up, and I understand. We're going to be flexible.
Yeah.
But this is what we're going to. This is an ultimate goodness and a gift for us. I think relationally, it has a great impact. I think maritally, there is a lot of evidence that the Jewish Sabbath was a day that was also reserved for husbands and wives to partake in their marital duty together. We're talking lovemaking, and that not to be legalistic about it and say like, oh, it's Sunday, honey. You need to be a little bit understanding, but to say like, it is
every male in the audience. Just perked up a little bit. Pastor Doug said.
No, Pastor Doug did not say. Pastor Doug says, "Listen to this next part." But to say as a couple, like, this is good. This is all the things that we see in Sabbath in itself. Mm-hmm. It is stop. It is rest. It is delighting in one another. Mm-hmm. It is contemplating the depth of love that you have for one another. It is good. And so it's one of the things that is afforded to us. And we see how it reflects the goodness of God in kind of Sabbath rest and like unchaining ourselves from the busyness of life.
Yeah, that's good. Well, one of the reasons why we're bringing this topic up is because we've been thinking about this here at Making FBC, especially like in our yearly calendar. Like, what are we doing as church leaders, as pastors, to help you guys both work well and diligently unto the Lord in your service to Him and to the community, to one another, and to rest and seasons of growth where you're just enjoying and delighting in the Lord with His people. So Phil, why don't you just kind of introduce us to these things that we've been thinking about?
Well, some of this stuff is still in development, but we're recognizing there's a need for a rhythm in life. Sometimes the schedule and the calendar is chaotic, and we feel like we're constantly on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, and there's never anticipation, there's never build up, there's never, and it's just kind of like, okay, that's done. All right, check the box. Let's go to the next thing. And we do the same things we've always done, and we don't know why we do these things.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It lacks purpose.
Yeah, oftentimes. So we don't have purpose. And so what we're trying to do is think through what we do as a church in conjunction with our mission, vision, strategy, and how can we create a rhythm of life as a church family that will help our families delight in God to the fullest. And so that's what we're working on, and hopefully, by this fall, we're able to roll out that idea, what that would kind of look like. And but part of it is going to, with these podcasts, like recognizing the summer is a time for strenuous effort, to serve and love and care and minister in ways that you can't do when there's a foot of snow on the ground. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to step back from podcasting for the summer, and that will begin, hopefully, a natural season. So each season of the podcast will be, kind of in conjunction with the school year. And so they're kind of that natural flow. Because in the past, our podcasts have just been go until we kind of crash for a few weeks, and then we pick back up and we're like, hey, we're back, everybody, And I think it's going to be a healthier rhythm for everybody.
Yeah. So we're going to be taking a break for a couple months. Mm-hmm. I think this will be our last podcast until August, or we'll pick back up in August. And this is also going to allow us to kind of improve, figure out a better schedule to do this, plan out some outlines a little bit better, all of those things, because we want this to be excellent for a good resource for you all, the listeners. We want this to edify you and equip you, build you up. And so, taking a break to reevaluate, reassess, and do things better. Unless you guys have anything else, I think it's
well, there was, in light of this topic, I saw a shirt. One of the guys here at church, I think it was, had a shirt the other day. It said, Jesus took naps, be like Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, I like that shirt.
Yep. Amen.
There's a goodness in rest.
Jesus also worked very hard.
He did.
Don't be lazy.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you as always for listening. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you all for joining. It's been a good topic. Until next time, enjoy the journey.